Welcome, Realm family, to another episode of Wrestling with the Realm podcast. I'm Brian, one half of the power and glory of wrestling podcasts, and on the other side, he is the Hercules to my Paul Roma. It's my guy, Will. Will, what are we talking about today?
What's going on, everybody? We thought we'd hop on and give you guys a little going over the thoughts we've had and have been collecting about The Rock and John Cena, and I guess Travis Scott's little group they have going on. There's not really a name they have for it yet, but just kind of that Hollywood
Guys in a Mark is what the name of their team is.
Guys in a Mark. We think that there could potentially be another guy added, and we're kind of just going over who we think could be that final guy. As we go through this video, let us know what you guys think down in the comments, and who do you guys think could potentially join this crew? But Brian, you take us into some of your thoughts you've had on this.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk. I feel like there's been a lot of stuff out there of people thinking that maybe there's going to be a third member. I don't necessarily believe that there'll be a third member, but I could totally see it. I mean, you and I even talked about on one of our older podcasts about how this is so similar to like 98 with The Rock and the corporation and all of that kind of stuff. And in that scenario back then, you did have more members of the corporation. It wasn't just Vince and The Rock. You had Boss Man in there. Like, you had so many other people that were part of the corporation that it does seem very plausible that there will be a third person who gets involved in this, and not Travis Scott. Again, for people who weren't paying attention to the two guys in a Mark, he's the Mark. So when you start thinking about it and you're looking at everything as a whole, to me, the only person that makes sense is Seth Rollins. A physical reason why is in Elimination Chamber, he's the one who did the stomp on CM Punk that gets John Cena the win. You know, it almost seems improbable that they would have gone it alone with Cena, because I said it when we did our review of the Chamber, that what would have happened if John Cena wouldn't have won. You know what I mean? Like, there's no guarantees in that. So a kayfabe way to try to make that happen is you do have a third member who's been embedded that whole time. And, you know, it makes sense that it would be Seth Rollins. I joked back then it would be awesome if it was Logan Paul. Like, that actually would have tickled me, and I would have laughed about that if it was Logan Paul. It just seems like all roads, no pun intended with Cody Rhodes, that all roads lead to Seth Rollins somehow being involved in this. Even going as far as, I know some people have talked about that, oh, maybe it'll be Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, because Becky Lynch had the you know, the X message out there about CM Punk, and, you know, AJ Lee better come get her man because he's wearing matching ring gear as Roxanne Perez, which was awesome. That was an awesome bird.
That was a good dig.
You know, but like you and I have talked about on here, that everything is a work until it's not, is social media. We've even touched on that before, that WWE is so smart with how they allow all of the superstars to work through the world of social media to progress storylines. So that could have just been a sick burn from Becky Lynch and just having some fun. Or maybe there's something more to it. I don't know. But Seth Rollins definitely seems like he could be somebody who's in on this thing. Maybe that's just self-serving for me because of one of the scenarios I suggested, that Seth Rollins and CM Punk will have a match night one of WrestleMania, there'll be some implications with a Roman Rock match to get CM Punk into a triple threat match night two, cashing in on his favor. You guys can go back and listen to our Elimination Chamber review. I think I talk about it in there. If not there, it's in our John Cena heel turn video. Uh, it seems like a good way to get the favor brought back into the situation, get CM Punk into a triple threat. Which again, I'm not the triple threat guy. Will is the triple threat
That's
guy.
me.
I'm normally talking him out of it. And then I came in like loaded for bear a couple casts ago, talking about, oh, we'll do a triple threat with CM Punk, because now I love the idea, because it
Yeah.
kind of makes more sense now once we've seen this whole Cena thing play out. But I feel like if Seth Rollins is part of that with The Rock and John Cena, it gives more to that match night one with him and CM Punk. Like I said before, it really makes that story have some bite to it without having to have a championship on the line for their match. I know they have a steel cage match coming up, but that's only match two. It feels like these guys are destined to have. I like what you did there. They're destined to have three. Um, and what better way to do it than you have Seth Rollins, who's going to do everything he can to make sure CM Punk can't make it to that triple threat championship match night two. Seth Rollins is going to have a job. His job is going to be making sure Punk can't make it to that match. Um, and I also say if that happens, you have Seth Rollins go over. You have him just really put a beating on CM Punk
Yeah.
to kind of depower him going into night two.
Yeah, I would have to honestly agree with you, but we would not have much of a podcast if I didn't sit here and give you a little bit of a different route. But I 100% agree with you. If I think it's someone, it's Seth Rollins.
Right.
And it just, everything you're saying makes sense to keep all these main players, involved in the main event scene. But I'm going to give you a guy that they're pushing to the main event and just kind of seems, you know, hopeless going into WrestleMania outside of a match with Solo Sikoa.
Oh, I know. I think I know
Jacob
what you're gonna say.
Fatu.
Oh,
You want to put Fatu in a position where he's a future WrestleMania main eventer. That's what they see him as. But how do you get him there? Well, you can position him in a group with John Cena, The Rock, and Travis Scott. But I use that loosely. Like he's going to be there all
I
the time.
love that it's always going to be Travis Scott as part of the group for you. There's never
Yeah,
going to be a
no,
scenario where he can't be
he
there
is in that he is in that group until
now.
I see him go through a table at WrestleMania. I need to
No,
see that receipt.
exactly. He's going to be part of that group until that receipt comes.
Mm,
And oh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for it. I really can't. That
me either.
that's going to be a whole nother thing as the internet wrestling community erupts in joy as one when Cody
Yes,
Rhodes gets that receipt with Travis Scott. It's going to be glorious. But
we
I
got to see it.
digress.
We got to see it. But as I was saying, I mean, Jacob Fatu is just kind of like on the outs in WrestleMania season. And it's his, believe it or not, this is going to be like his first rounds at the WrestleMania. So I feel like
Yeah.
he needs something going into it. I feel like we're down, it's happening. The friction between him and Solo, it's there. We're getting a match at WrestleMania between those two. But simple as this, sometimes it can't be so complicated, although wrestling has proved me wrong multiple times. So don't listen to me, guys. But um sometimes it's simple. What if all it is Jacob Fatu aligns himself in the night two main event with The Rock and John Cena, and he is just their enforcer, similar to what he played for the New Bloodline. And when John Cena is not there and The Rock is not there, he is the one handling
Mm.
business for this group week by week by week. He's taking out Cody Rhodes. He's taking out Randy Orton. He's taking out CM Punk, whoever John Cena is not feuding with at the time. Like, that's who he's going after, right? These guys who have called out John Cena, CM Punk,
Hmm.
Randy Orton, all these guys that have called out Cena, that's who he goes after. You can have those be SmackDown matches. You can have them be matches on pay-per-views post WrestleMania, the one that John, the ones John's not going to work because when John said he was going to turn heel, he's going to be at less shows. He's going to stop going to these live events. So Jacob Fatu can kind of fill that hole pretty similar to how Solo did for Roman when Roman was, he wasn't there a lot when he was champion.
Right.
I feel like it's going to be extremely similar type of title run because I feel like John's just not going to be there as much.
Yeah.
So I feel
No,
like,
that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I feel like it's something, you know, just kind of a little bit simpler. Now, would I much rather see Seth Rollins? Yeah, he's a bigger name right now than Jacob Fatu is. But I feel like it gets Jacob more involved in the main event scene because right now he's in the mid card, I'd say, but he's not really like competing for any mid card titles.
Yeah. And they've been, you know what, the push is there. I mean, they just did it again on SmackDown. You know,
Yeah.
kudos to the commentary team again. I'm going to be the one who's always going to give some flowers to those guys, um, because they're selling him as being a monster. I mean, even with
Hmm.
him and Braun Strowman, and by the end of that, they're talking about, how does Jacob Fatu do it? He goes through all that, and then he's right back up.
Yeah.
You almost can't stop him, which is a really interesting proposition that you're throwing down. That you have somebody who's there on behalf of The Rock, especially if John
Yeah.
Cena's not there. You have that heavy, you have the enforcer,
Hmm.
and I love the idea of that because you can have him go into Raw, SmackDown. It doesn't matter
Yep.
which one because The Rock will have the authority just to make that okay. And I
Yep.
know that that kind of irritates some people that, it's almost like Harry Potter when you're in a world with magic, how do you not solve problems with magic? It's almost too easy. And having the final boss character be this person who can willy-nilly change event cards and, allow people to do things they ordinarily wouldn't be able to. Uh, I think that's a cool way to do it because again, it brings me back to the Attitude Era where we used to do this stuff all the time, where you had the authority figure and they could wreak havoc on everything. I mean, there was a time there where it was the McMahon Helmsley era
Hmm.
after Stephanie and Triple H get kayfabe married. Um, so this is not a new idea of how you tell this story. But
Hmm.
in all of those stories, if we go back to the corporation or any of that stuff in the attitude area where we had these same themes, there was a bigger stable of people. What even like it wouldn't be surprising to me if there's multiple people who show
Exactly.
up
Yep.
with The Rock. I mean, we don't know what kind of bigger story they're building to. I was just listening to my guy Jim Cornette breaking down uh, The Rock and the John Cena heel turn and all that kind of stuff. This is not going to turn in to a Brian's rant corner again, I don't think. But Cornette is under the belief that this whole John Cena heel turn came on very late in the game. That The
Hmm.
Rock is just showing up and deciding what he wants to do willy nilly. I I get why Cornette wants to believe that, but that seems so unlikely. I know it seems believable because The Rock has been doing all of this kind of crazy stuff where he's just coming out and rambling and talking and throwing out f bombs and all that kind of stuff. I still want to be on the side that believes this is all part of that character. All of that is intentional, and we're supposed to
Yeah.
be feeling the way that Jim Cornette does. That he just shows up, does whatever he wants to, ruins all the card for everybody. Can't do this. Now you do wrestling. You get a box and you have somebody come out of it. They're over. And you have somebody come out of a box. Like, so I get it. I get why he feels that way. I choose to believe that it's still all part of whatever story they're trying to tell. And that story could get a lot bigger because
Yeah.
once you have The Rock not there all the time, if he has a mild presence as that corporate authority figure, that means everybody under him are the ones who are kind of pulling all the strings week to week. And if you're going to have an enforcer, there's nobody better to have than Jacob Fatu, because right now it doesn't seem like there's anybody who can stop him. Braun Breaker, hopefully. But we'll get there at
Yes,
some
we
point.
will.
We know we're on a literal collision course with those two at some point.
Yep,
Um,
100%.
but it just feels like this story is going to get a lot bigger before it gets any smaller. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we have more people that get involved. So the Jacob Fatu angle, I don't think that's crazy at all to think that. I definitely think there's lots of possibilities
Yeah.
for that.
Well, I just want people to remember, and hopefully I can come back in a year and clip this and say I was spot on. But, you know, John's not leaving till December. In November is War Games. You think about building a storyline, and, they built it
Oh
all the
yeah.
way out from last WrestleMania. Who says they're not going to do that again? What if it's John Cena and the Final Bosses Authority Group versus Cody and Jay and maybe a Braun Breaker if you're building towards a match
Yep.
similar to what you're saying with him and Jacob Fatu? And like you're just slowly planting those seeds starting now. But that's if they want to build a group and it's not just The Rock and John Cena that are going to be in this group participating in the matches because Travis Scott is not stepping into War Games, nor will he step into a ring again until he gets powerbomb because they're
Oh,
not. Man, Cody's eye looks fake. It
I
doesn't even
know.
look real, but Travis Scott smacked him so hard, I believe it's real. Like, you know, you can't have that guy in the ring anymore, so he will not be participating in any more matches. But don't be shocked if they start building this storyline starting at WrestleMania.
It just seems like it that this WrestleMania, I think we mentioned it before, we were both kind of on the same page that this WrestleMania feels like the start
Hmm.
of something and not necessarily the end of
Yeah.
something. But I just feel like there could be more going on than just one person. But boy, when you really think about it, though, it really does seem like there's got to be somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Especially if Cena's not going to be around as much. I mean, I think after Mania, he kind of does. I think that the 30 or however many dates they said that he's going to be there, I think that does get more into a full time gig once we get past Mania.
Hmm.
Um, but there's got to be more involved in it than just John Cena, especially if The Rock isn't going to be around a lot. You need other people that are acting on his behalf. So I think Seth Rollins is the layup choice, is the
Yep.
smart money. Jacob Fatu, I don't think that that's crazy
Yeah.
because something's going on there too with what's going on with Solo Sokoa and all that kind of stuff. And we still don't have Roman Reigns. Like,
No.
that's kind of the crazy part still, that this is like
No.
3 or 4 podcasts now where we've gone through, and at some point we're like, we're not talking about Roman Reigns, which is kind of crazy when you really think about it. But I think that shows you how strong of a story they have going right now, even though a lot of us, complain about it. Everybody wants everything now and wants the answers right now. We're not going to get those right now. I'm learning it's a lot easier when you get older, folks. The older you get, the easier it is to just sit back and go, okay, let's see how this thing unfolds.
Mhm.
Unless you're Jim Cornette, then you're upset about it. But I think just seeing where the story goes and how it unfolds, we're going to probably get more of those little stories attached to it. And that's
Mhm.
where stuff gets fun building for the future. Like, I'm excited if we get a world where Jacob Fatu is working for the Rocks Corporation or whatever they want to be called. And
Mhm.
that's what gets Braun Breaker involved more. We were just talking about this the other day. He seems like such a lone wolf right now, and such I don't want to say a one trick pony because that sounds so negative for him.
Yeah.
Because there's not many negative things I can say
Yeah.
about Braun Breaker. but he seems like a little bit listless right now. Even with that championship, it feels like there's not a whole lot cooking. It would be cool if that's how you get him and Jacob Fatu together, is he basically has to choose a side. That
Yeah.
wouldn't be like that wouldn't be boring to see happen. I would love to see that play out.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Brian. And in a week of wrestling that has been filled with just twists and turns, we've had three title changes in a week, and there was
Yes.
no PLE. Like, that's crazy to think about. That's been a long time since that's
Yeah.
happened. So, don't be shocked if there's just multiple people. What if there's a world where we're both right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And this group is huge. And, if you look throughout the authority groups in history, most recently, I think about when I was watching, it was Triple H, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, J&J Security, which was which was fun, and they had Corporate Kane too.
Oh,
Um,
corporate Kane.
and you like you said, the corporation was a big group, and like you look at these groups, they're not tiny typically when we're talking about authority groups. So don't be shocked that if there's just this is like a 4 or 5 person group, and I have this isn't a prediction by any means. This is the last podcast we are going to be filming where Roman Reigns is not present because he is coming back and he is coming back soon.
Yeah,
Pro-
exactly.
Probably tomorrow during this Hell in a Cell match. Oh, I mean steel cage match, but um who do you think if he attacks someone, who's he going to get tomorrow? Is it going to be Seth? Is it going to be Punk or is it going to be both of them?
I mean, it makes sense that it's both of them.
Mhm.
Although it seems like Seth Rollins would be the obvious choice for him to take right. I mean, Seth Rollins did um the most damage to him, even going back to last WrestleMania, when he came in and distracted Roman with the chair and all that kind of stuff, which was great.
Mhm.
Uh, which again felt like the end of a story for those two, going back to the Shield stuff with that. And it was, it kind of closed that little chapter of Seth Rollins' arc, but it still feels like that's still going forward.
Mhm.
Um, but I, to me, because I want everything to lead to my CM Punk triple threat
Yeah.
match on
Yeah.
night two now, that The Rock being that heavily involved against Seth Rollins, um, I think that still plays in pretty good with that scenario that I keep throwing out. That adds to that he has a little bit of gumption, that he wants to try to be involved some way somehow, um, because of that. But it's really interesting right now because you assume something else big is going to happen, which is weird because we just had SmackDown and we had a title change hands, like you said. We had a title change hands on Monday night, with Rhea Ripley losing. Uh, so they're really trying to show us that things really are unpredictable
Mhm.
again, especially on weekly TV, that big things can happen, especially on Raw. I feel like we got out of the gate a little bit slow with
Yeah,
that
we did.
premiere episode, but they really want that to be an unpredictable show and have people talking about it, what happened on it. So it feels like there's more big things to come for this story. There's no way it can just be Cena and The Rock versus Cody going forward, that they're going to have promos against each other and all of that. I feel like more people got to get involved in this. Um, yeah. On a side note, did you see the social media post that Liv Morgan put out?
No.
She sends out the social media post talking about Bianca Belair and that she owes her an apology, and then just throws this stray in there. I always wondered WTF Jade was even doing getting pushed like that. What what kind of shots fired is that over social media? And it's crazy because we talked about this recently with the Jade Cargill situation, that lean into it. We all have had the same talking points about her, is that she looks great. We all want her to be great, but she needed to work in the ring and she needed to get a little bit more work in. And then she goes away because of the injury.
Hmm.
And all signs would point to she's busy trying to get work in
Yeah.
to be better in the ring. And I've been on the side of, when we find out that Bianca was part of this, I always said just lean into that part. Lean into the idea that she was dead weight and she was holding me back and I needed to get rid of her somehow,
Yeah.
because that's what all the talking points are on her. Um, so it's kind of weird that Liv Morgan throws that little nugget out there. None of that stuff is ever by accident. So
Always
really
on.
kind of interesting that I don't know exactly what it means to me. It just is one of those little things that makes me say, okay, they're taking some of that meta stuff that we talk about, that all of us say about Jade Cargill, and they're going to incorporate that into the story, which is genius. Roll with that. Don't
Yeah.
do the thing where you try to ignore stuff. Just play into this stuff
Yep.
just a little bit.
Blur the lines between reality and wrestling. That's when it is at its best.
Exactly.
For sure. And Liv Morgan, she can, if she's throwing strays like that, she can join the Zoom call because we're known for just being on a little bit of like a tangent, and all of a sudden someone catches a random stray.
Yeah.
Brian's said it, man. Sometimes Damian Priest will just catch one bad, or like a Jade Cargill.
I feel bad about the Damian Priest one because that one was like that was a legit stray a couple of
Yeah.
podcasts ago. I felt bad about that one because my guy Damian Priest, I didn't mean it to sound that way. He could have
No.
won the Elimination Chamber. It's not like he wasn't on anybody's list to win, but it sounded horrible when I said it.
Yeah, no, it's not as bad as having like Naomi on your list to win the Elimination Chamber. If you checked out the blooper at our
Man,
Elimination Chamber review, shout out my brother Henry. That was his
man,
blooper in the chamber.
if you guys haven't caught on recently, we've been throwing bloopers at the end of here. I always love good bloopers. Anybody who, boy, I'm going to date myself. Anybody who is fans of Cannonball Run or Cannonball Run 2, that was the origination of the bloopers during the credits with Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise. So I've always been a fan of that. So we've started adding some bloopers, and Will's brother Henry got in one on the Elimination Chamber. He had some wild ideas of who he thought who he thought could possibly win the women's elimination chamber match. He, it's awesome.
I
I
feel I feel bad because now Henry's catching this stray.
oh, he's getting another stray now.
He's catching the stray. It's not actually a wrestler, it's him, but it's all right. If you're rolling out texts like that, sometimes you need to be you need to be course corrected in the
He
podcast. So,
he, he meant it too. It's the part where he doesn't even try to lie about it. He's like, I really thought that she could probably win. I thought Naomi had a chance. She did. Not too long though.
no, no, anyone has a chance until the bell rings, and then all of a sudden Jade Cargill's coming after you. But no, that was good. That was good stuff, man. Shout out Henry.
Did anybody else get flashbacks to Rikishi, by the way, when Naomi's like, I did it for you. I did it for you. When she's explaining to Bianca Belair, like, did anybody else have I did it for The Rock? Like, anybody else have that? Like, there's no way I'm the only one who thought that, because
No, I
it
didn't
was
think that right away.
infamous.
No,
That,
I didn't
oh,
think that right away. But now that you bring that up, that is gold. That is
man,
no, it makes a little bit of sense. It does.
one of the stupidest storylines from the Attitude Era. Trying to figure out who was driving a stupid car, only for it to be Rikishi. And then his reason, I did it for you. I did it for The Rock. It's like, come on, man. Come on.
Eh,
That was a lazy story.
that is a solid point right there. At the
Wait a
end,
minute. Wait a minute. Who's Naomi married to?
Jimmy
Wait a minute. Who's Jimmy's dad?
Rikishi, she stole the promo,
Oh,
stole that
there's
man's
no
note,
way that's not an accident.
stole that man's notes right here.
Amazing. I
Yeah, no,
love wrestling.
yeah. I hope we could figure out one day that that's a callback. It's
Yeah,
definitely not, but man, that was. I actually enjoyed that promo though. Good
it
promo.
was. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was. Some of the acting was, a little overplayed sometimes, but once again, when you get the real tears going and it's blurred lines between
It was
real
good.
life and wrestling, that's when it's at its best. So we have a
Yep.
whole lot of that going on in wrestling right now. So
Yeah. Hey, I will give a kudos to Naomi for that. She got some tears going. That was
yeah,
impressive.
that's hard to do.
I actually thought that. I went, wow, good for her that she actually got some real tears. It was cool. I was glad to see that. As melodramatic as sometimes wrestling can be, um, I got to give it up sometimes when they're able to go out there and she was able to emote and get some tears going. It was good. I give it a solid B.
Yeah, solid B promo.
Yeah.
I know this was kind of meant to be who's the third member of this team, but y'all got a little bit of a wrestling recap of the week right there of things
Yeah.
that Ryan we're enjoying. So you guys got a little bit of a 2-for-1 special right there in our time together. So
It's what
Brian,
we do.
yes,
We like to under promise and over deliver.
that's right.
That's what we do.
That is exactly what we do. Brian, you got anything else for him?
No, man, I think that's it. I think we both have some interesting ideas if a third person comes in, and I think we're both kind of in agreement. There could be a third and a fourth person, man. This
Yeah.
story can go anywhere at this point.
Yeah, 100% agree. Speaking about over delivering, guys, I'm about to over deliver on the TikTok and the YouTube shorts. So if you're already subscribed here, stay tuned. If you want to show even more love, go follow us on the
Yeah.
TikTok. Same stuff as our title here. Go drop us a follow. Be ready.
WWR podcast.
WWR podcast. It is going to be a whole lot of lists coming out. Me and Brian did a
Oh.
little blind war games
Woo.
team draft. That was probably my favorite one we did, but there's a whole lot of other stuff like Brian blind ranking 1 through 5 some mid carders, so a whole lot to look forward to.
Yeah, Will got me with a couple of those, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of fun. I didn't know how fun these lists can be, but you guys are gonna have to head over to TikTok, WWR podcast, and check it
Yes,
out
sir.
because I am down for blind ranking
Yes.
wrestlers and tag teams in the whole like. And Will knows how to get me too. He knows who to throw on there that is gonna mess me up. So
Yes.
kudos to
Yeah.
Will too. But yeah, I think just a shout out to everybody over at the Realm Paranormal Podcast. If you guys came over from there, thank you. If you haven't checked us out, go over to the Realm Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. Real easy. And check out what we got. We just had a live investigation from a haunted castle in Ireland. It's pretty cool. So check it out. But you got anything else, Will?
No, I'm all good. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and sticking around to the end. Drop a thumbs up if you haven't already.
Awesome. I'm Brian. He's Will. We'll catch you guys next time on Wrestling with the Realm podcast. Peace.
Love you guys. See ya.
I don't want Rikishi to hear this though, because Rikishi will give us some strays. He flat out will. He will go on
No,
social media and be like, "Who are these two? They don't know anything." Jay
man,
should
no.
be pushed harder. That's what he would
Yeah.
say.
And Jimmy. Jimmy should win the US title at WrestleMania. There you
He
go.
so would say that too. I bet you he has said that.
No, he has to. That dude will get on a podcast and just talk about how great his kids are at wrestling.
And you know what though? I cannot blame the man for that. Like he is uber proud of his kids. So I can't even fault him for that. It's just kind of funny that Rikishi, because he's a papa, he turns into just like all of us, where he's
Yes.
like, he wants to see his guys pushed. So I can't even blame him for it, but it was just funny.